Maria Salome Sklodowska, also known as Mary Curie, is a Polish scientist as well as the first female winner of the Nobel Prize. She is a really important scientist since she discovered radioactivity, which is highly used even today. This video is going to be about the scientist who is as unknown as she is important. Maria Salome Sklodowska was born in the city of Warsaw in today's Poland. She was born 7th of November 1867. She was the youngest child with 4 older siblings. In an order from the oldest to the youngest, her siblings were named Zosia, Joseph, Bronia, and Hela. It is said that Maria took after her father, Vladislav, who was a mathematics and physics teacher. She lost her mother, Bronislava, in 1877, when little Maria was only 10, to tuberculosis. Throughout her secondary education, she was always the top student. This led her to think that she could go to the University of Warsaw, a men's-only university. However, considered women's statue in that time, she was not accepted. So, she continued with Floating University in the same city. Floating University is a set of underground classes held informally and in secret. She was really willing to learn and graduate, but was not the only one. Her older sister Bronia had the wish of graduating as much as Maria did. However, they were not accepted to the university in their city since they were women, and their family could not afford 2 women to go abroad and study there to get a degree. Due to this obstacle, Maria and Bronia compromised and decided that Maria would work and earn money to support her sister, who would be studying abroad to get a degree, and when Bronia finished her school and got a job, she would return her the favor by doing the same. This led Maria to work as a tutor and a governess to earn money and study as much as she could during her free time, mostly physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Finally, in 1891, Maria went to Paris and enrolled in the university named Sorbonne. There, she changed her name from Maria to Mary to sound more French. Because of her talents at school, she was awarded Alexandrovich Scholarship, a scholarship for Polish students who study abroad. Even though she had her scholarship and support from her sister, the money was only enough to pay the classes, which caused her to have a really poor diet. She usually had tea and bread as her meals. It is said that she suffered a lot because of it, and usually fainted and had to be hospitalized. After all the hard times she went through, in 1893, she managed to get a master's degree in physics and a PhD degree in mathematics the following year. In 1894, Mary was given the task to perform a study on different types of steel and their magnetic properties. To do this experiment, Mary required a lab, which she did not have at the time being. One of Mary's friends met her with Pierre Curie, another scientist in the same university. Pierre at the time was studying crystallography. A year after working in the same lab on different projects, they fell in love, and on July 26th, they got married. 3 years later, they had their first daughter, Irene. In the year of 1896, they were inspired by the works of another scientist, Henry Becquerel, who saw that the element uranium emitted a kind of X-ray-like radiation which could interact with the photographic film. The Curies started working together, and soon they found out that the element thorium emitted similar rays. They furthermore concluded that the strength of the rays depended on the quantity of the material and was not affected by physical or chemical changes. In order to keep her experiment going, Mary used an instrument designed by her husband to measure the strength of the rays emitted by uranium. After a long research under very poor conditions, Mary found out that the same strength of rays were emitted by the compounds of uranium. She continued her research by testing the strength of the rays in a mostly uranium ore called pitchblende. Later on, Mary found out that the rays emitted by pitchblende were stronger when the uranium was removed than when the uranium was pure. This could be seen as a sign of a new, undiscovered element. That day forth, Curies worked together to separate pitchblende to its components. Mary often sat late at night, stirring cauldrons as big as her. In 1898, Mary reported two new elements: polonium, named after Mary's native country, Poland, and radium, the Latin word for ray, alongside the term radioactivity. They also reported that radioactivity was a property of atom. In 1902, Curie reported that they had 1/10 of a gram of pure radium chloride salt, which they got out of tons of pitchblende ore. In June 1903, Mary, Pierre, and Henri Becquerel were given Nobel Prize for Physics for their contributions for the understanding of radiation phenomena. Originally, the Nobel Prize Committee did not want to give Mary the prize. However, her husband defended her and said that the idea belonged to Mary and that both of them worked as hard. After Pierre's fight for equality, the Nobel Prize Committee did not have anything else to do than give the prize to Mary, which is how she became the first ever woman to receive a Nobel Prize. In 1904, when Irene was 7 years old, Mary and Pierre had their second daughter, Eve. When Eve was 2 years old, in 1906, Pierre Curie stepped in front of a horse-drawn wagon and got himself killed. Even with the pain of her dead husband, Mary took his part in the university and became the first ever female professor of the University of Sorbonne. In 1911, Mary won another Nobel Prize from chemistry this time for her early discovery of polonium and radium. This Nobel Prize made her the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes, the only woman and one of only 4 people to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different fields, and the only person to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different sciences up till this day. When World War I broke, she helped the doctors working in the war with her daughter Irene by setting up a mobile radiography unit. This unit was an X-ray system to help doctors with treating the soldiers. However, in 1920, she started facing some health problems. Unfortunately, on July 4th, 1934, when Mary was 67 years old, she lost her life to a bone marrow disease called aplastic anemia. She was first buried in Sceaux in Paris next to her husband, but in 1995, 61 years after her death, she and Pierre were moved to the Paris's Pantheon, a really important cemetery for as important scientists. This made her the first woman to be buried there. Marie Curie was not just a great role model for other scientists, but she was also a really good mother. Her oldest daughter, Irene Joliot-Curie, won a Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1935 alongside her husband, Frederick Joliot, for their work on synthesis of new radioactive elements. Her youngest daughter, Eve, wrote biographies devoted to her mom in 1937. A few years later, the books were used to create a movie about Marie Curie's life. Her achievements in science started being useful while she was alive. People were considering the use of radioactivity to treat tumor. Today, radioactivity is used in a lot of fields. These fields include medicine with the sterilization of medical instruments, as well as in the study of animals and plants. It is also highly used in nuclear reactors to produce energy. Her achievements as being a strong and independent woman still keeps inspiring young girls. By the time, everyone will get inspired by her work and achievements and will make the world a better place. No matter how much time it takes, everyone should one day be aware of the achievements of Madame Curie as a scientist, as a woman, and as a widowed mother of 2 successful daughters. Madame Curie, the woman who lost her life because of her devotion to science, the woman who still keeps radioactivity in her lab and coffin as well, should be known and respected, if not loved.
Okay. So, first question is, did Marie Curie's achievements help to improve chemistry up till today, and how?
Absolutely, chemistry and physics both. And probably you know that she's a winner of both Nobel Prizes for both of the scientists, and the first person ever received the 2 Nobel Prizes for 2 different sciences, and also the first woman ever received that. So that is like one thing, and another thing is how much she did for natural sciences. Basically, we could say that she is responsible for discovering of radioactivity, and now we can say many things why radioactivity is actually welcomed in our world, because we can use it in many positive ways, but also we can use it in many negative ways. And sometimes I think it would be better that she has never discovered the radioactivity. To be honest, why is that? How can we use radioactivity to benefit as a humankind? And the first thing ever comes to my mind is like the treatment for people who have cancer. This is where we use radioactivity almost on a daily basis, and then we say that okay, that is something good done. But if, for example, we look at the nature of cancer, we can say that one of the things causing cancer as an illness is the radioactivity itself. So it is sort of absurd. Then one else to use radioactive substances for the nuclear power plant. That is also something that some countries in the European Union are giving up on this source of energy, because it is linked to enormous amount of nuclear waste that we sort of don't know what to do with. So we even think of like disposing it in space or someplace. So then again, something good have finished is being actually a source of problem in some cases. Then unfortunately, nuclear weapons, also radioactivity. We do not like it in any ways. But there are some nice small things that we can use radioactivity for, like I don't know, security checks in at the airports. Then I don't know, the small apparatus that tells us there is a fire alarms. Also use something like that. So like anything, scientists produce something to do good. Scientists usually do that, and then in many situations we take something that is good and turn it into something that is really bad for us.
Firstly, is Marie Curie historically an important woman, and why is it?
Okay, Marie Curie is, as I know, one of the best physicist women in history. She won 2 Nobel Prizes, which no other woman did, I think.
A person did so far.
And she's probably one of the most famous female scientists ever, so any historian should probably know who she is and what she did.
Okay. Other question is, does she deserve to be known?
Yes,
and
of
why
course.
does she?
Yes, of course. She needs to be mentioned by not only physicists or scientific circles, but she also needs to be mentioned in history classes as not only being a really great scientist, but being a woman who did what she did in that time. Yeah.
Okay. And did her cultural achievement as being the first woman to win a Nobel Prize affect anyone after her up till today, positively or negatively?
It affected you.
Yeah, it did
Yeah.
affect
I actually believe that women in science in that way can contribute to cultural achievements of young women, such as yourself.
Yeah.
So inspiring, having that kind of scientist, historical figure is extremely important for young women to be inspired and continue maybe and do something like she did.
Thank you.
You're
This is
welcome.
all. Thank you so much.
She was the first woman who won Nobel Prize. Along with her husband, she discovered two elements, radium and polonium. She also carried out pioneering research into radioactivity and gave a huge contribution to the fight against cancer. This work continues to inspire some charities' mission to support people living with the terminal illness, including cancer. Marie Curie has made an invaluable contribution to science and an inspiration to many women who have yet to step into the world of science. With her dedication to science and hard work, Mary was able to fight a world where women did not have the same rights as men. She was the first woman to become a PhD winner of the Nobel Prize. We can say with certainty that Marie Curie's contribution is not only reflected in the advancement of science, but also in the fight for the respect of women in modern society. One of my favorite quotes by Marie Curie is, "Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas."